and I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I have met with Andy a few times, met with some educators from Illinois. I'm originally from Chicago. Before my time here at NoRedInk, I spent time working with the DeFores and Mike Matos on Tier 2 instruction in the PLC process. A little background on me, my dad was a eighth grade writing teacher who used to make me turn in my papers to him before I turned them into my regular teacher. So I grew up in a very authoritarian writing environment. Um, and so the kind of the precipice, I don't know if have any of you used NoRedInk before? Can you give me a sense of background? Looks like some not.
Yeah.
Um, Essentially, this was created by a teacher from Chicago Public Schools. It was named by the students, no writing, for that exact reason of how often you as a teacher spend so much time trying to correct everything or struggling through how long that takes to properly go through scaffolded writing instruction. And then for the student, how that can kind of be punitive, right? So you get a paper back, you worked hard on it, everything's corrected. As a teacher, you tried to do your best, and how much of that is actually absorbed by the student. That was really the precipice here. So no red ink, just at a base level, started off as an adaptive grammar practice platform, allow you to easily differentiate, allow you to diagnose the areas of focus for each student. It is interest aligned, so each student's environment is completely different than the one next to them based on interests, based on their skill level. But then the whole point of this, right, is to take all of that data and then to allow the teacher to easily differentiate and get into application and writing, right? Use those skills to then flow them into application and then make the scaffolded writing process easier for you, aligned by state and national standard. And then from a higher level, house everything in one spot. Make it very easy for you, whether in a PLC group or in your building or in your district, to easily look at the data, share out, and help hone instruction. Anyone that has used before, can you just give me a quick idea of how you've used it? Just thoughts on how you've used and what you want to see today.
I will say we used it probably 5 or 6 years ago. It was a free version, and we used it mostly to help our juniors for ACT prep.
Yeah, and probably was difficult to help with ACT prep because the standard was probably blocked behind the paywall. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, Mike, I've also used it, just so you know, I work with 8 kids on Sundays from China, and I've used all the diagnostic and the opportunities from the diagnostic to practice skills between weeks. And it's been great, but then I've often been limited because I couldn't get past the free part. If those of you who don't know, it's the first one or two listed as free, and then you have to pay more for there. And since it's my own side job on Sunday, I didn't pay, but even that I found extremely useful in terms of targeting skills and specific standards. Thanks.
Yeah. So, and to your point, Shauna, essentially uh, they're giving you about 15% of the program. There's no standards alignment. I'll dig into this now. It's more of a sense of, hey, this is a platform I like and it helps a bit. But usually on the free side, you can kind of get in that zone of just kind of drilling and killing practice because a lot of the things are behind the paywall there. Okay, cool. Well, I'll dig into this. I'll try to go through how we would do, just how I would properly go through this. And when you said 5, 6 years ago, I've been here for 3 years. This thing has changed about 15 times in the time I've been here, so it's moved quick. So we'll probably see a lot of things that you have access to now, even on the free side that you didn't know. To sign up an account, you can just go to NoRedInk, sign up an account. You'll have access to the free side immediately. And then we're working on, obviously, getting you the full thing. But everyone can see my screen, right? Good. Okay. All right. So just a little lay of the land here, right? As I had talked about kind of this flow of instruction to start off, right? So assessments, planning diagnostics, classroom level unit diagnostics of how we might kind of hone in and say, get a temperature check of where our class is at as we move forward into how we're going to assign. On the other end of that is a growth quiz, so something we might do at the end of the unit. Practice. If you have, and anyone's used before, probably what you did, right? That's skills and grammar practice. This is here. We'll dig into that as well. And then the point of that, again, flowing into the writing features. Once you mastered it there, we want to see you apply it in student writing. So quick write section, we'll zone in on this. Novel analysis, bell ringers, exit tickets, a lot of content here to make sure that you have what you need so that writing gets assigned and again can be aligned at standards. And then as I alluded to in the first part, right, easing that scaffolded writing process. We scaffold writing from the sentence level up to the paragraph level. So we'll go through this, see how that works, and then peer and self-review. Looks like there we go, Amy's coming in. And then, right, from the reporting level, from the school and district level, admin tools. So let's see here. Oh, that I'm actually in here. Let's go here. I logged into a Naperville account because I wanted to show you some actual reporting. So here. But they're making me log in again. All right, second here. Sorry about that. Here we go. Oh, wow, this thing is really jamming me up here. 1 second. Let's open another demo account. Okay, sorry about that. All right, there we go. So on the principal, ELA lead, district side, all the reporting on this end as well. So we go from skills benchmarks, writing benchmarks. So something you could do at the beginning of a year, say get a little temperature check. I'll go in here. I can easily go and create a writing benchmark from unscaffolded to scaffolded. Let's see, I'll show you a skills one here. Results, right? So benchmark 1, benchmark 2, and then go school by school, teacher by teacher, how we can share our best practices down to class by class, and then an Excel all the way down to student by student. One other thing to note too, all student writing is housed in NoRedInk. So it follows the student email, it follows class by class. So if you, instead of, I'm assuming a lot of you maybe are housing these in Google Docs, like how are you sharing writing from one teacher to the next? Do you have insight into the student writing when a student comes into your class, or is that really shared at a teacher's Google Doc? No, it seems like it's okay, not passed. So this is one thing. I'll take you over to student data quickly before we dig into like how we'd go through a proper unit. When you're in a class, every student, any piece of writing that they write from grades 3 to grades 12, as long as they're with the district, is going to be housed by their email. So you will never lose this. It goes from teacher to teacher following the student. Students can favorite their pieces. This is also pretty huge for cross-curricular. I brought on my main territories are Illinois and California, which seems abnormal, but I brought on a district called Victor Valley that it started with a social studies teacher that wanted to connect some of the things they were doing with a historical piece with an English class. So they were doing a historical fiction in the English class and then a piece of writing on JFK on social studies. And so we connected it there. So this also makes it easy for you to get a consistent rubric and follow that from maybe ELA to social studies. So even though in social studies you're not teaching it, All of those helps and scaffolds will be there in the consistency in the rubric. All right, so I'll show you two just quickly because we're on this tab before we move into the unit. Mastery. So everything on the practice engine, this grammar practice engine, is based on mastery. So in here, again, we align to all your standards. So I can come in and get a health check on my class. Let's say we're prepping for ACT, so it'd be the time. Heavily, moderately, lightly tested, and I can see where every student is on progress to mastery. So you can get a heat check at any given time and see how you might want to just kind of alter your instruction. All right, so let's start off pretending we are just starting a unit. I've got a bunch of brand new kiddos. I'll come down here, and actually, let me just show you this first to show you what your standards are going to look like. If I can. This point. All right. Sorry, guys, I somehow clicked off the Ohio tab. So I'll pull that up later. Here, let me just go to Ohio. I got too many tabs here. So I can come through here and let's say I'll go to do an 8th grade diagnostic. Go and assign. Now it is going to queue me up for some basic things that you should know in 8th grade. I can edit the questions. Again, this is going to be a short lift, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, but you can also take this down. I'm going to assign it. And after the students are in the practice engine for about 20 minutes, here is what you're going to see as the teacher.
Okay.
Right, so I'll get a nice bird's eye view from struggling to proficient. It's obvious, right? I can see misplaced dangling modifiers. Subject verb is an area of need. I can click in here. I can see, all right, here my students are struggling, kind of give me some ideas, maybe for some small group work. But then usually the issue here is, okay, the teacher knows this, but you're still one person and we can't fix all of it. So the cool thing is I can go to assign unit. And now it's going to tee up. And this is a good example, too, of the difference between free and premium. This is a detailed scope and sequence on modifiers. So from the most basic application of the skill all the way down to the most advanced, slowly builds in complexity. Now, this seems like a lot, but this is only 13 to 20 minutes of practice, right? And the key thing here is figuring out, especially when we have a struggling student or maybe an EL student's even struggling with the language of, I know they're struggling with modifiers, but I've got no clue where or why. We send them through this and they get stuck at a certain point. It pings you as a teacher. And now I know exactly what part of the strand is the problem. But you can see here on the free, you get access to 1, 2, 3, 4. These are kind of the premium flags. So it gives you essentially a taste of, okay, here's what this looks like, but is it proper? Through instruction? No, they put in gaps. So now as a teacher, I can quickly tee this up, assign it. But the key here with premium is that instead of just assigning it to everyone, because everyone doesn't have this problem, I can quickly filter and then just assign this area of struggle to the students that are struggling there. I go and assign. I can come back. I can now do the exact same thing here on subject verb. And you spend about maybe 20, 30 minutes here. I can now completely differentiate instruction for my whole class. So now as I'm more informed on how I'm going to teach the unit, I know that everyone has practiced at exactly their area of struggle. How often are you all doing any planning diagnostics? How are we going forward in units here? Is this something you're normally doing?
Anybody want to share out on that? So it's recommended that we are doing it at every grade, and it's in kind of our concept expectation in terms of a diagnostic. Some schools do it, some don't. But this is something that, in my opinion, should be added and also communicating across grade levels when you get new students to know where they are. Now, yeah. Anybody want to comment further than that, please? Anybody? So I would just go ahead, Mike.
Yep. Okay. So now that we have started the unit, give you a sense just of the practice engine a little bit. So I can go over to the student view. I want to show this interest piece. Just another way that this makes this unique for students. Right. Yeah. Let's see here. All right, looks like that makes sense. My demo count is being futzy this morning. All right. Let me go into let's see if we can just find a student account here. All right, of course. So I'm gonna have to show you guys that later. Let's just dig into some more examples.
So one thing that as you're looking for what you want to do, a question, I'm going to be a argument and debate guy right now. And the criticisms, let's start with that just because I have a question when I saw the assignment and then the last page you were at. How aligned is this if you're doing, how can a teacher who uses this to assign so far just say Common Lit Unit 2 expository essay? How can they see how this will, what you're offering aligns or prepares them for the state rubrics?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to show you this, and unfortunately, because I'm having some issues with the demo account, I'm going to show you Illinois because I logged into the Naperville is a district partner here, logged into them. So I had pulled this up for you for Ohio, but this is an example of Illinois here. So all of your Ohio standards are going to be here as well as the national standards. So this is really the key here. So I know ACT was used an example before. So let's dig into this. I can filter everything in NoRedInk by heavily, moderately, lightly, and then again in the writing section, scaffolded and practice. So let me go into here and just see one that we might want to dig into. Anything pop out to anyone that you want to take a peek at?
Can you show us highly tested?
Yeah. Yep. So this is where we are right here. I can pop into, let's see here. We can do these modifiers again, right? So this is now, and as opposed to just searching for modifiers, I can come in here based on the standard and assign right here. So I can assign this way. I can also come in if you want to do, let's see here, AP language, go to skill practice, do claims, evidence, and reasoning. Do topic sentences here, show scope and sequence on topic sentences. So I can come through here. And let me go to show you some skill building modules. The skill claims, evidence, and reasoning. We have these skill building modules built in. And what this does is it kind of shows, it's almost an internal alignment. So I know a common lit is a focus. As part of a PD plan, we can physically build unit by unit using your pacing guides to tie in NoRedInk's instruction to common lit. But and I'll show you that in a bit. But here we can do this internally. So I'll go through this and use this as an example of something we can do here to show how we might go through the program properly. So let's say we're going to teach a unit on claims, evidence, and reasoning. I can key it up with a tutorial. So what is strong evidence? Go to view tutorial. There are hundreds of these tutorials built into the program. And this is great to pop up on the overhead, teach it once, and then it's going to be there for the student as they're working through. All right, so he walks us through.
Can I ask a question or should I put it in the chat?
Oh, you can go ahead and ask a question.
Yeah.
Okay, um, so it's like I don't know how to explain. So it's like student self-paced. Is that what it is? Or is it whole group? Like the tutorial is whole group and then you put like on them on a pathway type situation
Correct.
or
Yep. So this would be something I would teach to the whole class if I was doing this unit. But then, right, it now teases up and says, okay, here are practice options for the grammar practice side. So core practice. This would be for those students that you feel are really ready to just dig into this unit skill-wise. Scaffolded or for maybe those students that need a step up. So it's going to take them through a little bit of a longer, slower practice session to get them up to that skill. So for some students, maybe I just assign these two. You know, for some, maybe I do some of these.
okay. And what is the apply and assess at the bottom? What is that? That's
Yeah,
after the unit
yeah.
is
So
done.
exactly. So after we do the grammar practice, the whole point of the grammar practice is application. So quick writes. So using evidence to support a claim. This is where we say, okay, we saw you master it in practice. Now I want to see you do it in your student writing. So here, let's show you what this looks like for the student. It's going to tee up this thing on using evidence to support a claim. So write a claim that answers the question, who has been the most influential musician in the last 5 years? Student's going to write there. And then, you know, these we usually grade on a word total, things like that. It's not too punitive. So it keys up a couple quick writes. We want to just see that the student now is able to do that in their student writing, and then tees up a growth quiz. And then finally, right, it tees up a formal essay, a guided argumentative essay where we're going to now really get into the scaffolded writing process. Let me show you an example of this. So, and let me see if I can use, I want to use yeah. So this is not going to have a prompt, but let me show you. Yeah, let me actually go to a prompt here. I'm sorry we're having issues with that demo account because that would make it a whole lot easier today. Let's go into, let's just get into the writing features here, and I'll go from quick writes down through the scaffolded writing process. So one thing to note, there are tons of prompts, everything's aligned, but also a lot of your teachers are going to have just things that they're doing themselves. We're not trying to get in the way of that. Everything we have here has a create your own feature. So whether it's a quick write, okay, I need to, let me check one more time if this thing is up and working. Because it is not giving me the options I need. Here we go. Okay. Oh, of course. Okay. Yeah, we are just, give me
Technology, what do you expect?
Yep, give me 1 sec. Yeah, we're a tech company. So there you go. Give me 1 second. I'm going to log into another account that I know will have something I can work with.
So while we're waiting, I just have all the questions. I apologize. But
Oh,
No,
that's
please.
fine. We need
for
questions. Thank you.
for sorry, for like the end of the unit assessment or whatever, the summative, does it mimic the state test where Ohio State test where it has two passages that they have to refer to and use in their multi-paragraph essay?
Yeah, so all of those alignments, it'll be exact rubric, exactly how it would see on the state test. The scaffolded prompts will be, so they'll be scaffolding, so you can build up, but then the authentic will be exactly how they would see it on the test. A lot of the prompts they take right off of old tests.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Miss Norman, I would,
Yes.
oh yeah, hi, good to see you. You can also talk to Kyle about this because one of the things kind of floating around Ohio that's a misnomer is that the percentage of the test in Ohio is 8 to 9% content versus 2 to 3% on on grammar and syntax, etc. That's not really accurate. So what's important about this, I think, and our team thought, is that this is intellectually the way our students should be thinking about writing. Does that make sense? So you're right, it does align and mimic the state. So there's that, it'll eliminate those gaps you may have between English teachers doing their own rubrics in the class versus what the state says. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, and so, but keep asking those kinds of questions because that's how you really get familiar. The obstacles are actually a good thing. And when we did it as our English curriculum committee, we were able to see the process that's mimicked here, whether it's independent or small group, and it aligned really well with what we want our English teachers to do. But you can ask him as well to show you some things because he's way smarter than me. So that would be a good thing. But thank you for keep asking your questions. Mike, do you want to start again?
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I'm sorry. Our demo platform is literally IT is on it. Apparently, it like went down just as soon as we started this. So apologize, guys. So I am now in someone else's account. So I should at least be able to show you some things so this isn't a complete waste here. So standards and tests. Again, now this is a California one, so going to have to stick to some of these other ones, and I apologize for not being able to show you something unique to you. But let's go. So let me go ACT because this will be at least accurate. So what I was talking about before between scaffolded and then authentic, right? So let's use ACT essay as an example. So this prompt is going to go through an authentic prompt, right? So this came off an old test. The rubric, exactly the same as we would see it on the ACT. And what we do here, again, for the scaffolding, it'll tee up a tutorial for ACT, but we go from piece to piece. So from title, introduction, scaffolds are going to change at each level. So some basic things that we have here that, student that you've pre-taught, we handle some of these basics here on the side so that while they're working on it, it's there. Examples. So there's going to be 2 examples for each. So it's going to show context, going to show thesis. This is more how I learned, like show me a good example instead of explaining this to me, right? So we'll always have 2 examples for each.
And by the way, this is very important. The classrooms I've visited this year, 43 teachers, every time they were writing, I saw no sample. So at least then they have a model here they could use on a screen before they assigned it or whatever. They don't have the time in Ohio to write their own. Very few teachers do. So this is why I think this is a good tool. You see a literal example, and I think that is a huge plus.
So for the sample and all the other info that the students can see on the side, is there a text-to-speech option?
Yes, exactly. So there's text-to-speech throughout the program. Let me give you another example here.
Also, whenever you get a chance, can I see like 3rd grade or I'm a K-5 person, so can I see like the lower, even if it's California, I just want to see what it looks like.
Let me go. So yeah, all the prompts are text-to-speech. Let's go into quick write so I can show you some of the things on here. We can go into here and everything, right? We can filter everything by grade. So let's go 5th here. So on quick writes, right? We start with skill building. So this would be that natural bridge from, from practice over to writing. So your, then, punctuating, combining sentences, building arguments, moving over to fluency and fun, to genre, text by genre, text by theme. I can go to feature things just like light and easy, like fun and famous, like which job would be more fun and why. I'm sure the kids would say YouTube star, we'd say movie star. So just different ways to get teachers or students writing. Bell ringers, exit tickets, test prep. So I can come in here, obviously. Smarter balance example here of something for fifth grade. I can come over to novel analysis by chapter. So for you, are you any in 3 through 5? Any chance you're teaching Hatchet? Obviously, the novel analysis section gets a little thinner the farther we go down, but
Well,
any of these
just on these alone, just so you know, Bud Not Buddy, The Giver, many of these I've seen in our Common Lit curriculum. So that's for sure. The other thing is, if your school is interested in 3 to 5, which we'd love you to join, we will talk also with Mike about looking at the curriculum you're using to make sure some examples are produced that directly align. Does that make sense? So that's part of why we're beginning this process early. Ms. Norman, that was an awesome question. So I'm guessing, so Minnesota, when I get to them, they're going to want the text feature as well. But what I've noticed when I've looked at this, the language is as it goes down grade level is often wonderful because it's more accessible to the kids. So I guess you probably want to see, can you show us, Mike, something from third grade that how the kids are talked to by the machinery?
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah, so let's go here. So are we looking for practice or more of just like a little bit of scaffolded writing?
do the scaffolding.
What?
Scaffolding.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So let's go into short response. So opinion paragraph. And now let's go here. So, right, this one, let's use this animal agent example. So on that, right, as I showed you in guided drafts, we just kind of touched on it very briefly. That's at the paragraph level. Here, we're going to scaffold at the sentence level. So, right, for maybe some of the students that are just getting the confidence to start working on a paragraph. So here, right, what animal would make the best spy? It is now going to offer the scaffolds here. All right, topic sentence. Try writing a sentence like this. In my opinion, I believe I should. All right. So this whole thing is wow.
So
We are
one thing I'll say
struggling.
about this too, isn't this, Mike, a lot like the standards, the younger grade standards where it says with assistance? Remember, all the
Yeah.
reading standards are prompted with assistance, with prompting or with guidance. So to me, this actually, as a tech tool, does those things that maybe a new teacher or an uncertified teacher or a high school diploma teacher might actually need to learn from the tool what they should be doing in their room.
Yeah, exactly. So all those things will be laid out here.
Yep.
It will go down rubric level, example by example. So, right, I come in here, student will write their sentence in, and it will start to now scaffold on down the way. So, right, so reason one, scaffolds will change here again. It's going to give tips. It's going to also give us the examples here,
Yep.
color coded.
Color coded.
And just going to do this at our time. See, students can be writing here. Sample one, right? And the students continue to move through this way.
Right.
Reason two, right? It continues this way. Example two. And now closing sentence. Obviously, this is gobbledygook, but now at the end, it's going to show their paragraph, right? So they will then get to see everything they wrote. So this is how this goes from, right, from sentence level to paragraph level. Let's see here.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Is there any opportunity for us to have a demo account so we can like look around in there and see what things are like besides you clicking around?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and I apologize again. There literally was some sort of unreported maintenance this morning. Because normally I would be working in that to be able to show you more than I can. Because right now I'm working in a teacher account which doesn't have things built in. So I can provide you all with the demo account and happy to spend some more time with you another time to
Right.
dig into some of the things that we weren't able to touch on.
That's
I
a
want
great
to
idea.
move to
Oh, go ahead. I just wanted to say two things. So yes, I'll follow up, get you their emails. That's number one.
Yep.
Also, we have another meeting, right? Another time if you want to come back. Hopefully the glitch will be
Yeah,
confused there.
I'm really
Okay,
sorry about
thank
this.
No,
you.
that's okay. I mean, it's tech. I mean, we make
Yeah.
mistakes, but I appreciate your availability 6 days over the next 2 weeks. So let me ask, I'd like to ask some questions. I would like to have some feedback from you. What are you looking for? Because one of the things that I'm going to do next year is I'm going to have office hours, because a lot of times you guys are left out of these discussions, and I don't want that to happen moving forward. So is anyone willing to share, either just unmute and talk? What are you looking for? Let's let Mike and I hear this in case our curriculum committee isn't reporting everything you need. So what are you looking for? What if you had your druthers and you had to answer above you, what exactly do you want help with from a tool like this to get, let's just use my words, get someone off your back?
I like this. I would like, well, two things. One, what is like the time commitment expectations requirements for this program? And then two, is there a way that we're able to like print the student writing and then like go through it like pen and paper, highlight what they, you know what I mean? So what are those two?
So Mike, I'll let Mike ask that. Depending on your school, depending on who you're working with, obviously, let's remember that we have an online reading program. Concept Schools historically has never measured writing with NWA. They never did it. They never tested it in the 13 years I've been here. So what we're trying to do is, and Miss Norman, you did that in Cincy. I know that you were always looking for resources to help your writing program, right? So what this is designed to do is hopefully thread some needles and sort of make reading and writing more reciprocal, and obviously figuring out and working with your teachers, targeting them to help them understand how to use this to support the assessments and the end of unit projects within Common Lit or Collaborative Classroom or whatever you're using, right? So those are very good questions. So you'll decide that, which sounds crazy because I'm not trying to put it off on you. We can help you if you want. But the other part I think is, and Mike should address this, in terms of I know why you're asking the question about printing. And so Mike, can you talk about how this helps grade the writing and how the teacher has a voice in the tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can print anything off. We can go writing portfolios when you're in your grading area. You can print anything off. We can also come to where was the instructional materials. We have a ton of things too here where we want to do some pre-writing exercises, all this, and I'll share this with you all later, where you can, let's say we wanted to do a static zone where we were working on topic sentences on pen and paper in class. We can do that here. Yeah. There's also, let's see here. So what was the second part of the question as far as?
So for me, when you did the demonstrations with our curriculum committee,
Yep.
so it does use AI, right, to help with
Yes,
grading
yes.
process. But I believe you showed us something where teachers don't have to be constricted by just AI. They can add their own voice into it or other voices.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this is the problem is I can't physically show
That's
it
okay.
of the situation, but let me explain what this looks like. So when we do it, when we assign it, right? And I can show this at least briefly of how we would assign it. So I can come in here, right? Create my own on that guided essay. Rubric, right? So first of all, we have these built in. You can also customize it to whatever you want. And then on the standards, they're exactly how the standard is.
Yeah.
We select the genre, parts of essay. Big part of it is saying, hey, we're just going to assign for this time a good body paragraph. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the student through. They're going to go into that guided draft feature with it, which had the scaffolds on the side. They're then going to submit it. It's now going to come to me as the teacher. And I am just going to zone in on that paragraph. It allows you to make comments right there. You just highlight, you can save all the comments you want. So you can just click and drag, you analyze, you just focus on that paragraph. So maybe you just make one or two corrections. We're not trying to do everything.
Focus.
And now I'm going to send it back. The whole point is now we're going to go back and forth and draft more often, more drafts. They have a click down where you just go draft to draft, so it makes it very easy. And then a cool thing too is you might be working through and realize, okay, it's the end of the unit. I'm focused on this paragraph. I notice, say, that this particular student has some issues in, say, redundancy, but I can't do anything about it because there isn't anyone else in the class that has that struggle. And so now I'm usually that student just gets left behind. So what I can do here is then I can come back, and this is kind of the full scope of coming back and saying, okay, for this student, I'm going to go back and just assign her some practice based on that exact thing of struggle that I'm noticing from my analysis. So now I know even if we move forward, she gets some practice. So that's kind of where we come full circle from practice to application and then back. Now to how you're going to get assisted. We do have an AI grading assist. And it is a shame I can't show. So essentially it's in the quick writes right now. Back to school, it's coming fully to guided drafts. And what that will do is going to help you greatly. So that guided draft, that example we looked at, it's going to analyze it for you. It is going to give you a selected grade against your rubric and selected comments at each rubric level. But the key is it's not going to the student. It's going to come directly to you.
Yeah.
The point is that it allows you, we did a case study with Paradise Valley on this, saves about 40% of the time, but a bigger thing is students were about 3 times more likely to get feedback because the reality is sometimes teachers just don't assign the writing because of how long it takes.
Yep.
So you quickly look at what the AI says, and then that allows you to really hone in on the piece, save the time there, because honestly, there's some auto graders out there. The fact is sometimes the AI feedback is spot on, sometimes it's garbage.
Yep.
But that's the point is we don't want to take you out of the process. So you analyze that, then you're able to quickly go back and forth and draft that way. Another thing we have, it's called originality insights. Something that you can see when you look through an assignment. It will time student writing because everything is done in our platform. So that gives you a little tee up. And then there's also a copy and paste detector. It's called Originality Insights. So you can click a button and you can see everything that was copy and pasted into that piece.
Yeah.
So, the reality is with, AI, things like that, very hard to actually physically know that something was, maybe copied or cheated. But by having the student data tab that we showed, where you understand their skills on the practice side, being more involved in back and forth in a meaningful draft, you have a better sense of their voice. And then having those little things like originality insights, things like that gives you a better sense of, okay, now I know their voice and I have a better understanding.
So I want to ask a couple questions now. Thank you for that explanation. And we're getting close to time, so we're going to get you the free accounts and we'll follow up. But a couple things that I want to just sort of address. I don't know what's going on here with my computer. I apologize. Couple things. Let's pretend we're English teachers. That's all I am because I know none of this other stuff he's talking about, but I'm learning it alongside of you. That's number one. So you should know that you can read. The purpose of central office is for me to work with you and help you get better. Okay, that's the purpose of my job. And it's a long distance thing. But for example, if I was purchasing this tool, let's say 7th grade, I would print out my scope and sequence documents directly, not my amended scope and sequence, because teachers do that as well, and Common Lit allows them. But I'd print out the 6 units, and I would look at the end of unit writing. And I would go back, and some of these, you heard him say, you can adapt the prompt. All your teacher has to do is look at that, drop it into it, and it will populate with the rubric and the things that will benefit the kid in the state of Ohio. We do not have that right now. Now, Mike, clarify if I'm misunderstanding, but that's how I interpreted it. So I would leave here and I would look to plan that and think about how to use this tool to help me scaffold. Maybe unit 1 is an expository essay and all we want to do is work on intro and conclusion. Couldn't I do that on your tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can take the prompts we have as far as the standards alignments,
Right.
but then also you can create your own. So let's say you have your own rubric internally.
Yep.
You can also create that, and then you can just save and share the assignment. So you'll be able to have some consistent prompts, some consistent lessons that could be shared across classrooms
Right.
as you start to get towards calibration.
Right. So let me just also say this. So what I hear from three of you, not on this call, but in Ohio, is you're more worried about the Ohio rubric. So I'm going to make my suggestion here because I have a captive audience. You should be modifying that rubric for where they are in the year preparing for March. Does that make sense? So I wouldn't go away and start creating all your own school rubrics unless you have them. But if you don't, I would go to the state and align it. I don't believe teaching to the test, but we are in a standards-based era. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I think the other thing that really becomes really clear, and can you talk about this? Because this is an argument I've heard from three different people in different states about the problem with NoRedInk, and I'm just going to put you on the spot, Mike. They say that they're really, they already have that in Writable. But what Kyle and I discovered was that the syntax piece that you do well, that you've been criticized for, is actually the very thing we need. If we have underdeveloped writers, if they learn more about syntax and diction and sentence structure, the parts, sentence, words, sentences, paragraphs, they will actually be stronger readers. And I've done this research myself for 30 years. In underserved populations, kids who write then appreciate reading. Can you address that at all? What do you say to the critics who compare you to Writable?
Yeah, I mean, well, Writable does not have a practice engine. And again, I've done you a disservice today because of the account being down, that we didn't get to see that. It's interest aligned, it's unique to each student. I showed you kind of how you would assign some of it, but it's engaging grammar practice that is mastery based. They struggle with it. They learn it that way. There is none of that in Writable. Writable is obviously more static. Writable is amazing if you have HMH. It's built right in there. So there's an alignment built in. It's a good
And by
tool.
the way, we do not have HMH in English class anymore. Please note that. We've worked hard and tirelessly for 2.5 years to completely transfer, except for one school, from collections HMH. Now, some of the history books are HMH, so there's going to be people in your building going, well, we can't get rid of it. In St. Louis, they're going to do both. So just keep that in mind, and remember, please have sympathy on me. We have cut your budgets by $5,000 in English, so we have a little money. Please remember that. And we really need writing because it's going to help science and history and all other subjects. So I did hear from one of the people who had to leave. They have the demo account, and their teacher, who is on our curriculum committee, has worked with it. So you please reach out to Cleveland High School if you want to learn more about what they've discovered and why they're excited about it. And I will promise to get you these free accounts or the demo accounts once Mike's set up. And you can come again on Thursday, I believe, is the other, if you want to see more, because I have to see and do. I can't just do one.
Yeah, the other thing too is and I'm happy to do individual sessions with anyone on here because you were done a disservice today because of the reality of what we dealt with. I'll leave you with one thing to talk about. So obviously Writable with HMH, like that makes sense. It's baked in. What we do, and this is an example of a district that I'm working with in Illinois, of part of the PD plan. And that's something we can do because of the district involvement that Andy's been doing. So this is an example of Common Lit. So 8th grade example, we also did one for them in 11th grade. And we don't need to do this for everyone, but it helps them learn the tool intimately. And what it does is it creates that exact alignment like Writable would have with HMH. So it starts us off on this lesson. We start with a quick write and then flows us into modules, guided drafts, and it tees up all these prompts. And this is all custom built based on your pacing guides and prompts in Common Lit, so that you as the teacher can just zone out knowing that you have this plan and that you can do more on the side, but this will build consistency across, allow you to learn it in a proper way. So we're flowing through in the right way through guided drafts. It aligns exactly to all of their standards. And so it essentially just custom creates, hey, follow this. Now you're going to learn the program. And then for the next units, you kind of build and are able to do your own thing. But really has been transformative as far as really creating that lockstep alignment.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing that, Mike. And of course, that's our goal. That's why we're finding out about interest and numbers right now to come back about the price. So I want to thank all of you for coming. Shayna, thank you. Sarah, thank you. Amy, Elise, Amanda. Let's see who else was here. Mackenzie, Stephanie, Antoinette. And so what we'll do is I will update the list that Mike is working from with your emails. He can reach out to you with those accounts and then follow up with you directly. Okay. Don't forget the form. If you think you can commit 100 teachers or 200 teachers or kids, not teachers, be updating that form so we have an ongoing idea of your budgets and your numbers so that we can have a coordinated effort. Okay. And I'll thank you all. I can stop the recording now. Does anybody have any quick questions for Mike in the last 2 minutes?
Will you guys just share out? I missed the beginning. Will you share out the recording?
Yeah,
Yeah, who's talking? I didn't see it.
It's Amy Stroh.
Oh, hi, Amy. Yes, I'll share this recording. I'm going to stop it right now.